At my son's graduation, my new wife said, "Don't hug him. People will think he's ours." I smiled, understood. After the ceremony, I took my son's hand, got in the car, and we drove to the airport. Her text, "Where are you?" I replied. My wife leaned in close while the principal was still talking, her perfume sharp and expensive in the hot gym air. "Don't hug him," she whispered, like she was reminding me not to double park. "People will think he's ours." I blinked once. My son, Ethan, stood 3 rows ahead of us in a navy cap and gown, shoulders too broad for a kid who still left cereal bowls in the sink. He kept adjusting his tassel like it was trying to escape. I felt something cold settle behind my ribs. Not anger, not shock, clarity. I turned my head slowly and looked at my wife. She was smiling at the stage, eyes bright, like she'd just made a helpful suggestion. "Understood," I said. And I meant it, because in that moment, I stopped trying to make this marriage work for everyone. The principal called Ethan's name. Ethan walked across the stage, shook a hand, took his diploma cover, and scanned the crowd. His eyes landed on me, and his face opened up into this big, relieved grin, like he'd been holding his breath for 4 years and finally exhaled. I stood. My wife stayed seated. I clapped until my palms stung. When the ceremony ended, people poured into the aisles with balloons and flowers and loud laughter. Parents were doing that thing where they hug their kids like they're still 5. My wife reached for my arm. "We're meeting my parents at El Jardin at 6. Don't be late." And, "Simon, remember what I said." I nodded like I was taking instructions on parking validation. Then I walked past her. I went straight to Ethan. He saw me coming, and his eyes got a little shiny. He tried to play it cool, like he hadn't been counting the days to this. I didn't hug him. I took his hand, because he offered it first, that quick squeeze he's done since he was little when he needed grounding. And I said, "Let's go." "Dad?" he asked, confused. "What about pictures?" "We'll take pictures," I said. "Just not here." We walked out into the June heat. We got into my car. And instead of driving home, I headed for the freeway ramp that led to the airport. At 1:17 p.m., my wife texted, "Where are you?" At 1:18 p.m., I replied, "With Ethan." Exactly where I'm supposed to be. And that was the first honest sentence I typed in months. Sup, Reddit? I'm Simon. I'm 42. I'm an attorney, civil litigation, mid-sized firm, the kind of work where you spend most of your life explaining to adults that contracts mean what they say. I'm also the guy in my family who has always handled things. If a bill was late, I fixed it. If a tire was flat, I fixed it. If someone needed help, just for a few months, I fixed it. I'm not saying that like I'm a saint. I'm saying it because it explains why I missed the slow shift from helpful to useful. Ethan is my kid from my first marriage. His mom, Laura, and I split when Ethan was 9. Nobody cheated. Nobody got arrested. We were just 2 tired people trying to carry a marriage on one bad knee. We did the co-parenting thing as well as 2 stubborn adults can do it. Week on/week off. Holidays split. Real calendars. Shared Google Drive for school stuff. We were decent. Then Laura got a job offer 2 states away when Ethan was 14. It was a real offer, $110,000 base, relocation, benefits. She asked if she could take it if Ethan stayed with me during the school year. Ethan looked at me and said, "I want to stay with you. My friends are here. My team is here." So Ethan moved in full-time. Laura paid support. I didn't fight her. We adjusted. We kept it clean. At the time, I thought I was entering my quiet dad era. Work, home, homework, groceries, repeat. Then 2 years later, I met my current wife, Vanessa. Vanessa is 33. She's polished, social, the kind of person who can walk into a room and instantly know who matters. She works in marketing for a regional real estate group, which means she's always on, always thinking about perception. She was charming in the beginning. Not fake charming, just strategic. When I told her I had a teen son, she tilted her head and said, "That's actually kind of attractive. A man who takes responsibility." In hindsight, that should have made me pause. Because what she liked wasn't Ethan. She liked the story of me. We dated 8 months. We got married fast. Not Vegas fast, but fast enough that my sister asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. That was my first lie. Vanessa moved into my house, in my name, bought 6 years before her, 2.9% mortgage locked in back, when the world still made sense. Monthly payment $2,140. I'm telling you that because it becomes relevant. Ethan had his own room, his own bathroom, his own life. At first, Vanessa played the role. She asked about his classes. She complimented his haircut. She bought him a nice graduation gift early. AirPods Pro, $249, because he deserves it. Ethan was polite, a little stiff, but polite. Then the little comments started. Not loud ones, paper cut ones. "He eats a lot," she'd say, looking at the grocery receipt. He's always in the way. If his shoes were near the door, he doesn't say thank you. Even when he did, just not with enough enthusiasm to satisfy her. I told myself it was an adjustment. New marriage. Teenage boy. Different rhythms. I said the phrase, "we'll find a balance," so many times it should have been stitched onto my pillow. Here's what nobody tells you about blending families. It doesn't blow up in one big dramatic fight. It erodes you in small, daily negotiations until you forget what you agreed to in the first place. Vanessa started optimizing our home. Her word. Simon, we need to optimize. He's almost an adult. He shouldn't be taking up the whole upstairs. The upstairs was literally 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. She wanted Ethan to move into the smaller guest room downstairs so we can use the upstairs office for my work calls. I said no. She didn't argue. She smiled and said, "Okay, babe. I just want what's best for us." Then she did something worse. She told Ethan, "Your dad doesn't want to rearrange because he's scared of change." Ethan came to me that night and said, "Dad, I don't care where my room is. But why is she making it sound like you're weak?" That hit me harder than the room conversation, because it wasn't about furniture. It was about narrative. In their version of the story, I was a guy clinging to the past. In mine, I was a dad protecting his kid's stability. Then came money. Vanessa and I kept separate accounts at first. I pay the mortgage, utilities, groceries. She covers her car, her student loans, her personal stuff. We split dinners out. That was the plan. Then her car lease jumped because she went over mileage. She drove to client events constantly. Her payment went from $440 to $670. "It's temporary," she said, "just until the next bonus cycle." So I added $300 a month to help. Then her sister needed a little help with a security deposit. Vanessa asked me if I could front $1,800. "She's family," Vanessa said. I said, "Sure, but I want it documented. She pays it back in writing." Vanessa laughed. "You're such a lawyer." I wrote a simple repayment agreement anyway. 1 page. Dates. Signature. Her sister never signed. Vanessa told me I was being cold. Then she started tracking what I spent on Ethan. Not directly. She did it like she was doing household accounting. "Those cleats were $189, she'd ask, eyebrows raised. "It's for football." "Well, my parents didn't buy me $189 cleats." I'd say, "Your parents weren't raising you alone while also paying a mortgage." She'd respond, "Why are you getting defensive?" "I'm just asking." The thing that bothered me wasn't the questions. It was the implication that my son was an optional expense. And it got sharper as graduation got closer. Ethan got into 3 colleges. Good ones. Not Ivy League, but solid. He also got an academic scholarship at his first choice, $12,000 a year. I'd been contributing to a $529 since he was born. Automatic transfer, $500 a month for 18 years. I'm the spreadsheet guy. I believe in boring consistency. When the acceptance letter came, Ethan ran into the kitchen like he was 8 again and slapped the letter down on the counter. "I got in," he said, voice cracking. Vanessa smiled. "That's great." Then, without missing a beat, "So how much is still left after scholarship?" Ethan's smile faded. He glanced at me like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to be happy. I said, "Enough." Vanessa nodded like she'd mentally filed that number under resources. 2 weeks later, she brought up a vacation. "After graduation, we should do Europe," she said. "Like a real trip. Paris, Milan, Santorini. You've never taken me. I took you to Cabo last year." "That was not Europe," she said, like I'd offered her a ham sandwich for her birthday. "I have Ethan's orientation and first semester costs," I said. Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Orientation is 1 weekend. You can't put your life on hold because you had a kid at 24. I stared at her. Not because of the words. Because of how casually she said, "You had a kid," like Ethan was a speeding ticket. Then came the public stuff. Vanessa's co-workers started showing up in our lives. Happy hour events. Company dinners. Networking mixers where everyone pretended it was fun to talk about market trends. Ethan came to one because it was at a restaurant near our place and I didn't want him eating frozen pizza alone. Vanessa introduced me as my husband, Simon. She introduced Ethan as Simon's kid. Not my stepson. Not Ethan. Just an attachment. Ethan stood there with a soda in his hand and looked straight through her. Later, in the car, he said, "It's fine. I get it." But his voice wasn't fine. And here's the thing. I could handle Vanessa not liking me sometimes. Marriage is messy. People are messy. I couldn't handle her shrinking my son to protect her image. That's where the line was. I didn't say it then. I watched it happen for months, telling myself, just get through graduation. Then Ethan will be off to college, and the pressure will ease. That was my second mistake. Because you don't fix a disrespect problem by removing the person being disrespected. You fix it by addressing the disrespect. And I wasn't doing that. I was enduring. By March, I wasn't sleeping. I'd wake up at 4:47 a.m. and stare at the ceiling, running scenarios like court arguments. If I push back, she'll say I'm choosing him over her. If I don't push back, I'm teaching Ethan that this is normal. Either way, someone loses. Then one Tuesday, I got an email notification from my bank. New device logged in. I opened my app. Someone had added Vanessa as an authorized user to the household account. Not her account. Not a shared card we agreed on. The account where my paycheck landed and the mortgage drafted. I called her from my office. Did you add yourself to my account? She didn't even hesitate. Yeah, it's easier. We're married. We didn't discuss that. I didn't think I needed permission from my husband, she said, voice turning sweet in that way that meant sharp was coming next. Do you not trust me? I looked out at the rain streaking my office window and felt something in me click. Because the pattern was clear now. It wasn't just about Ethan. It was about control wrapped in romance. She wanted access. She wanted optics. She wanted the benefits of my life without respecting the people in it. That night, I didn't argue. I made a list. A literal list. Bank access. Mortgage/title. 529 beneficiary protections. Prenup terms. Yes, we had one. Auto payments in my name. Life insurance beneficiary. Digital passwords. I went item by item like a man trying to stop a leak before the house flooded. I'm a lawyer, but that doesn't mean I'm immune to blind spots. If anything, it means I'm better at rationalizing them. So I did what I do when I'm scared. I got organized. First, I changed every password. Banking, email, cloud storage, phone carrier. Then I went into the bank in person on April 4th at 9:10 a.m. and removed Vanessa's unauthorized access. I had them print the access history. I didn't do it to catch her. I did it because reality matters. I opened a new account at a different bank and rerouted my direct deposit. The mortgage stayed on auto draft from the original account, but I kept only enough in there to cover fixed bills. I met with a colleague who does family law, someone I trust, someone who doesn't get dazzled by charm. I paid his hourly rate like any other client. He read my prenup, flipped a few pages, and said, "You were smart when you signed this." The prenup was clear. Premarital home stays mine. Retirement stays mine. No claim on existing child-related accounts. No spousal support after 2 years unless there was disability. Clean, boring, enforceable. He asked, "Are you trying to save the marriage?" I said, "I'm trying to save my kid's sense of worth." He nodded like he understood exactly what I meant. Then I talked to Ethan. Not in a dramatic way. Just honest. We were in the garage on a Saturday, putting air in his car tires. I said, "You know Vanessa's been difficult." Ethan didn't look up. "I don't want you to be alone, Dad." That sentence wrecked me a little. Because my kid, was trying to protect me from my own marriage. I said, "You're not the problem. You never were." He nodded once, hard, like he'd been waiting to hear that for years. Then I told him about my plan. Not every detail. He's my son, not my therapist. But the outline. After graduation, I said, "We're taking a trip. Just us. A real one." Ethan's face lit up. "Like where?" "Somewhere with good food and bad airport coffee," I said. "And no walking on eggshells." He smiled. Then he hesitated. "Is she going to be mad?" "I'm not doing this to make her mad," I said. "I'm doing it because you matter. And I need you to see that in action." I bought plane tickets that night. 2 one-way tickets for June 16th, for 30 p.m. departure. I paid extra for refundable because I'm not reckless. I'm anxious. I also booked a hotel near campus for Ethan's orientation week and put the deposit on an apartment for myself, just in case. I wasn't planning to destroy Vanessa. I was planning to stop letting her shrink my life into something that only fit her. And I knew exactly where the confrontation would happen. Graduation. Public. Bright. Full of witnesses. Not because I wanted drama. Because it's harder to rewrite history when the story happens in daylight. Back to the gym. Vanessa's whisper, "Don't hug him," didn't surprise me. It confirmed everything. After the ceremony, she tried to steer the next scene like a director. "Smile," she said, pulling her phone out. We need a photo for my story. Ethan stood a few feet away, diploma cover in hand, sweat at his hairline. He looked like he was bracing for impact. I stepped beside him, not touching, just present. Vanessa angled her camera. Okay. Ethan, stand a little farther. Like there? Perfect. Ethan shifted. His jaw tightened. Vanessa turned to me. And you don't do the arm thing. The arm thing. I asked. You know, she said, waving a hand. Like you're his dad in every picture. It's confusing. Ethan's eyes flicked to me. I heard my own pulse in my ears. This was the moment she thought she controlled. This was the moment she thought I'd comply to keep peace. I smiled, because I've spent half my life smiling in depositions while people lie to my face. Understood, I said again. Vanessa relaxed. She thought she'd won. I turned to Ethan. Hey, grab your cap. We're heading out. Vanessa's smile froze. Heading out where? Airport, I said. She blinked like she hadn't heard me correctly. What? Ethan looked between us. Dad, I kept my voice calm. We have a flight. Vanessa laughed. A quick, sharp sound. Simon, stop. We have dinner with my parents. I already told them. They're bringing that wine your client gave you. I'm aware, I said. Her face tightened. Then what is this? This, I said, nodding toward Ethan, is me doing what I said I would do. Being his dad. Vanessa's eyes flashed. You're being dramatic. I leaned in slightly, not threatening, just close enough that she had to actually listen. I'm not angry, I said quietly. I'm not cruel. I'm just done negotiating whether my son gets basic warmth. Her lips parted. Excuse me. You told me not to hug him because people might think he's ours, I said. That's not a misunderstanding. That's not optimize. That's who you are when you think it's safe. Vanessa looked around fast, like she was checking if anyone heard. A few parents were nearby, laughing, taking pictures. No one was paying attention. She lowered her voice. You are making me sound horrible. I'm repeating your exact words, I said. She swallowed. Then switched tactics, because she always had tactics. Okay, she said, forcing a smile. Fine. Hug him. Whatever. Let's just go to dinner after and not do this right now. Ethan stood still, watching her like he was watching a commercial for something he'd never buy. I put my hand on Ethan's shoulder. Solid. Real. Come on, I said. Vanessa grabbed my wrist. Her nails dug in. Simon, she hissed, don't do this to me. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then up at her face, and I said the line that had been forming for months. Not revenge, I said, voice steady. Just boundaries. I gently removed her hand. Then I hugged my son. Not a quick photo hug. A real one. Ethan exhaled against my shoulder like he'd been holding that breath since March. When I pulled back, his eyes were wet. He wiped them fast, embarrassed. Sorry, he muttered. Don't be, I said. Vanessa stood there, frozen, watching like she'd just lost control of the script. We walked out. In the parking lot, the June sun felt too bright, like the world was being rude. Ethan got into the passenger seat. I started the car. At 1:17 p.m., Vanessa texted, Where are you? At 1:18 p.m., I replied, with Ethan. Exactly where I'm supposed to be. At 1:20 p.m., she called. I didn't answer. At 1:22 p.m., she texted, You are embarrassing me. My parents are waiting. At 1:25 p.m., I replied, You'll manage. Ethan stared out the window as the city slid by. After a minute, he said, Are you leaving her? I kept my eyes on the road. I'm leaving the version of my life where you have to earn permission to be loved. He nodded slowly. Then, in a small voice, Thank you. And for the first time in months, my chest didn't feel tight. At the airport, I handed him a boarding pass. He stared at it. Dad, where are we going? I smiled. Seattle, I said. Campus tour. Burritos the size of your head. 2 days where nobody gets to make you feel like an inconvenience. He laughed, a real laugh, like the kid I missed. Then my phone buzzed again. Vanessa, if you walk out on me today, don't come back. I looked at Ethan, at his cap in his lap. At the diploma cover, he kept touching like it might disappear. I texted back. Okay. One word. Clean. Final. Vanessa did not respond like a person who had been calmly told no. She responded like a person who had been denied access. I landed to 18 missed calls, 43 texts, and 3 emails with subject lines like urgent and we need to talk now. Ethan saw the notifications and flinched. She's going to overreact, isn't she? Let her, I said. That night, from a quiet hotel room, I forwarded Vanessa's emails to my colleague. The next morning, at 8:30 a.m., he filed for divorce on my behalf. Yes, I know how that sounds. But here's the truth. I'd been fighting this marriage alone for a year. The paperwork was just the part that matched reality. When we got back 2 days later, I didn't go home first. I went to my office. I had a sealed envelope waiting. Service arranged. Timing confirmed. Everything documented. Vanessa was served at 2:14 p.m. in the lobby of her building because she loved that lobby and I knew it would matter to her. She blew up my phone immediately. "Are you insane?" she screamed the second I answered. I held the phone away from my ear. "I'm not doing this by volume, Vanessa. Send me an email." "You left me at graduation." "I left a dinner," I corrected. "I didn't leave a human being in danger. I left you disappointed. You're choosing him over me." I paused. "Yes." Silence. Then, "That's sick." "No," I said. "What's sick is asking a father to be smaller so you can feel bigger." She switched gears fast. She cried. She apologized. She promised therapy. She promised she didn't mean it like that. Then she threatened. Then she tried charm again. Then she tried the narrative. She posted vague quotes online about being abandoned and men who pretend to be good. Friends texted me, "Is Vanessa okay? She seems really hurt." I replied to exactly one person, "We're handling it privately. I hope she has support." Because I wasn't going to argue about reality on Instagram. At home, my preparation mattered. Her access to accounts? Gone. Auto payments I'd been covering for her? Stopped. Her name wasn't on my house. The locks were changed legally, after notice, while she stayed with her parents. The 529 and Ethan's accounts were protected by the prenup and separate ownership. She tried one last move, claiming I was having a mental health crisis and that she was worried. My colleague smiled when he read that email and said, "That's a classic." I wasn't offended. I was relieved, because it meant she had nothing real. If she had real facts, she'd use them. Instead, she used vibes. Ethan watched all of this quietly. One evening he said, "I feel bad." "For what?" I asked. "For being the reason." I set down my fork. "You are not the reason. You're the mirror." She didn't like what she saw. He swallowed hard, eyes down. "I just didn't want you to be lonely." I reached across the table and tapped his hand. "I'd rather be alone than be in a house where love has conditions." It's been 13 months. Ethan is in college now. He calls me every Sunday around 6 p.m. like it's an appointment he actually enjoys. He tells me about classes, roommates, and the strange economics of dining halls. I moved into a smaller place, 2 bedrooms, one of them an office. My mortgage became a rent payment, $1,650 a month. The quiet is unreal. At first, the silence felt like failure. Then it started to feel like peace. I'm not anti-marriage. I'm not bitter. I don't tell people love is a scam. I just learned something very specific. Someone can want your stability without wanting your whole life. Someone can love the benefits of you and resent the people you love. And if you ignore that, you don't just lose a relationship. You teach your kid that respect is negotiable. Vanessa and I finalized the divorce 6 months ago. No dramatic courtroom scene. No screaming. The prenup held. We split what we agreed to split. She still tells people her version. In her version of the story, I'm a man who abandoned his wife at a major life event. In mine, I'm a father who finally acted like it. Ethan visited last winter break. We took a photo on my couch, both of us in ugly sweaters, holding mugs of terrible cocoa. And this time, I didn't think about who might misinterpret it. I just put my arm around my son and let the moment be what it was. Not revenge, just boundaries. What do you think? Did I handle it right, or did I wait too long?